Hey guys, it's Lauren. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm doing a video on my eyeshadow palette collection. I've seen a lot of people doing these over the past few days just because I think it is a pretty easy video, I'm not gonna lie. But also, I think it's also fun to look at, the palettes that people have in their collections. And I thought now would be a really good time to do this video because obviously due to the current state of affairs in the world right now, I can't really go out and get new palettes. So I thought it would be fun to show you the palettes that I have in case you want a review on any of them. If you want me to do a tutorial with any of them, I'd love to hear what you want to see in the comments down below. I'm not doing this video to brag, but solely for the purpose of, I think they're fun videos to watch, and also, I want to get your input on what videos you want to see in the future. But if you would like to check any of these palettes out, if you want to purchase any of them, I'll have links to all the currently available palettes in the description box down below. Any link that has a little asterisk beside it is going to be an affiliate link, so if you decide to purchase a product using that link, that just means I can make a commission off of your purchase at no extra cost to you, but I like to make you guys aware of that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let's get into it. So there's really not a whole lot of organization to the way that I store my palettes. It's just kind of I put them where they fit, so that means there's not going to be a whole lot of organization to the way that I'm showing them to you. It's more so as I see one, I'm going to show it, and that's kind of the order. The first two palettes that I want to talk about are my Tartelette ones. They're just over here in the corner. This is the Tartelette Matte Palette. It's a little dirty. I've had it in my collection for quite a while. It's just an all matte palette, and it's kind of more purpley toned, but the problem with me for this palette is they don't necessarily transfer onto the eyes as they do in the palette. Like, the shades come across a little bit more warm toned than one would expect. This palette is like my go-to travel palette. This is the second in the Tartelette line, the Tartelette in Bloom palette. And I really did like this one for a very long time because it is a more warm tone palette, which I used to be really into. Now I really am into the cool tones. But you can see this one's very banged up just because I really do bring it for travel a lot. It's a very easy palette for me to work with, and it just goes with a lot of the color schemes that I'm looking for. Then we have the ColourPop Fame palette. This one is discontinued, and I was so excited to get it when I first picked it up, but I really have not used it that often, which makes me sad. I'm a big fan of the ColourPop formula, but these, again, just don't perform as well as some of the other palettes, just in my opinion. Then I have my colorful palette. This is the She's a Rainbow palette. This is also from ColourPop. Here is what it looks like. I don't use it that often because you guys know me, I'm not a color person, but whenever I want to use color, this is a really good palette for me to go for because it does have mattes if I'm looking for a matte look. If I want a really shimmery shade, this is another great palette for me to go for. It's just kind of that all-in-one palette that I would need for color, so I don't really buy a ton of other ones because I have that. Then I have my more neutral, kind of my everyday ColourPop palette. This is the Double Entendre. Here's what the shades in it look like. These are really pretty. They're a little bit more warm-toned, but I told you, I used to really, really love warm tones, so this one I've gotten a lot of use out of, and, will continue to. Now I have another discontinued palette, but this is one I use quite a bit, and I believe I got it in 2015, so it's probably on the going to be expired soon side, but this is the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. I'm not even that big of a Gwen Stefani fan, but I just was really drawn to the color scheme in here. I thought there was a lot of neutral shades, which I love. A few, pops of color, but they're not too intense. I really get a lot of use out of it, even to this day, so until it starts, not working as it used to, I'm probably just going to keep it around. So I have kind of my more classic, if you will, palettes over in this kind of section, because I have the chocolate bar palettes, the Urban Decay Nakeds. So I'm just going to start with the chocolate bars. Here is the Too Faced chocolate bar palette. This is the original one. This one, this was one of the first palettes I ever had in my collection, and I just use it. I used to use it to death. This was all that I used, but now I don't use it quite as much. I need to get more use out of it because I love the Too Faced formula, but there are shades in my collection that I just am so much more drawn to now. Then we have the Semi-Sweet, and this one, I don't know, there's half the shades in here I absolutely love, I think are so pretty, and half of them I just don't touch. This was one I got right before I believe it got discontinued. This shade right here is surprisingly really, really good. I love using it with a setting spray. That is the shade Pink Sugar, but I love the mattes. I love those two shades. I get use out of it. I just wish I could get more, to be honest. The next one surprised me. This is the Chocolate Bonbons palette, and I really just got it, I hate to say it, but to be a completionist, I've really gotten away with that mentality, but I used to be I liked having complete collections of things, and I've really used this one probably the most out of the chocolate bar palettes. Maybe with the original, just because I always had the original, and I probably used it a lot more, but Now, this is the one that I use the most. I love a lot of the shades in here. I can create a ton of fun looks with it. And I often just bring out this palette to help complete other looks. I find it has a lot of shades that I'm looking for in other palettes. Then we have the White Chocolate Bar. And this is a palette that I don't think a lot of people talk about. One, because it really, I could not see this working on a ton of different skin types just because the shades are very light, they're pastel-y. But for me, because I do have such pale skin, they do show up pretty well. And I don't know, it's not my all-time favorite palette or anything, but I definitely keep it around because I do enjoy it, especially during the springtime, which is weird because it's kind of like a holiday-esque palette. That's when it came out. I think it was kind of overshadowed. It came out with the, what is it called? The gold, chocolate gold palette, and that one got a lot more hype. And they came out around the same time. Then we have the Urban Decay Naked 2. This is one of the earlier palettes in my collection, one of the first ones I got. Don't really know why, because I wasn't that into, this is a little bit more of a cooler, neutral palette that I honestly, I don't know why I got it, because I don't know, I just was not into cool tones back then, so I never used it. But now I use it quite a bit. This has become kind of a staple in my collection, which is kind of weird. Then I have the Urban Decay Naked 3. This one, I bought it, I loved it, and I haven't stopped using it. I know there's mixed opinions on it. Some people think the quality is just mediocre compared to the other ones, but I love it. I use it so often. I believe I recently talked about it in a favorites video, but the mirror in this one, we'll see what it does. It's kind of like unattached, so I have to be kind of careful with it. But here is the shades. I love this palette. I think it's so pretty. If you like, you know, rose gold shades, if you have blue eyes or like green eyes, it really makes them pop, but it looks really good on brown eyes as well. I think this palette is really pretty. I can't, like, if I were to only keep one palette, I really think this may be in the top 3. Like, I would definitely consider only keeping this one. Now we have the Balm Nude palette. I like this palette. I used to, like, adore it. It was, like, all I used for, like, a year straight, but now that I have other palettes in my collection, it kind of gets overlooked. I use these, like, 6 shades on the left side quite a bit. The other 6 kind of get overlooked. I probably should declutter in the future, but I just really love it. I have, like, a sentimental connection. I know that's weird, but I do. Then I have the Smashbox Double Exposure palette. I'm just gonna be honest, I very rarely use this palette. I don't know. There's just something about it that I'm not too into. I'll use it on occasion, but honestly, I don't get as much use out of it as I should. Here is a discontinued palette that I so wish was still on the market because I would recommend it to anyone that likes glimmer or shimmer. This is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea 3 palette. Let me see if I can get it open. It's basically like an all shimmer palette. Sorry, I'm trying to cover the mirror so you can see it. But you have that one matte-ish shade. It has a little bit of shimmer to it, but these are all like glitter. They're so pretty. I mean, you can wear them on their own. You can use them as toppers. If you have, I don't know if they have a lot of the Rainforest of the Sea other palettes still available, but if they are and you like the color scheme, I really like the quality on this for glitter. Then I have my NARS Voyager palette. I love this palette. It's so great for travel. It's got just a really great neutral color scheme that I find myself using just all the time. It's a really, you know, quick eye look palette, one that I love for travel. This is in the shade Suede. They have like, I believe they used to have 3 versions and now they kind of like narrowed it down to just 2, but pretty good formula, especially for the mattes. The shimmers are really nice as well, but they're not like super intense. Then we have the Naked 2 Basics palette. I've had this in my collection for a long time, but I really did not start using it until like the past year, just because I've been into cooler neutral palettes. And these are all matte shades, so I really like using this A for travel, but B to kind of set up, because I've been into like a lot of like single glitters recently, and I like to like set up those glitters, make them have a little bit more depth by using mattes, and this I just always bring out because it's so easy to work with, and I really like the way they perform, the quality of them, just everything. It's a great all-around palette. Then we have this Winky Lux Coffee palette. Whoa, that palette just moved. This is the Winky Lux Coffee palette. Winky Lux is a brand that I really tested out a ton from over the summer. I could do a video on Winky Lux, honestly, but this palette is just okay. I love the top 6 shades. That seems to be a trend. 6 shades in there. I love the bottom 3, and they really don't perform that great, but I do like the way that they look. I like the actual colors, and I don't have that many. Well, I have a ton that are similar to those two, but I do like them enough to keep the palette around. So now we have a large palette that I just adore. I really do. It gets so dirty because it's like a black matte packaging, but this is the Sephora Pro Nudes palette. I got this about 2 years ago, like right when it came out, because when I saw the color scheme, I fell in love, and I'm so glad that I did. It is pretty pricey. It's like $68, but it's so pretty. I get so much use out of it, and I don't know, I just find it to be a really nice palette, but definitely not for travel or anything like that because it is so big. And honestly, the quality is really good too. I feel like people used to talk about the Sephora Pro Palettes. Now they really don't, but I can definitely say the quality is there. So here's the Jaclyn Hill Original Palette with Morphe. I believe I got this in 2018. No. I think it was 2017. I really do. It could have been 2018, but I think it was 2017. I really love the color scheme of this palette. I find it to be very versatile, and the performance of the shades for me I really like the quality. It's great. However, I can't recommend this palette because Jen Loves Reviews, a YouTuber here on the platform, she's really great. You should definitely check out her channel. I'll have it linked down below, and the video where she kind of brought to the forefront that the newer Jaclyn Hill palettes, ones that have come out, we don't even know when the formula changed, but it has changed. So now the palette has carmine in it, therefore it's no longer vegan. I think there was a few other formula changes that they did not disclose, and Morphe has confirmed this since Jen did that video. So it is not the same palette that you see on the shelves if you go into Ulta or if you go into a Morphe store. So it may say the Jaclyn Hill palette, but it's not the one that I have here that I love so much, and I think people do not like the quality as much as the older ones, so can't recommend it. Here's this BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palette in Essential Eyes. I don't even know if this is available anymore, to be honest, but you know, I loved the color scheme of this. It just, I mean, they are very, very light, so I don't know how many people could like get use out of these shades, but for me, I kind of like that they, you know, aren't as pigmented, but you still get a lot of shades, and they're a little bit more cool tone, but you have a few warm tones. However, they just don't perform that well. Like, I definitely would not recommend this palette because the performance is just not there. Even for the price, it's just not worth it. So here I have two matte custom-made palettes. This first one is kind of like my subdued colorful palette, like when I want a little bit of color, but nothing too crazy. This is what I use. For some reason, I don't know if the formula in MAC shadows has changed, because I feel like I made this like 2 or 3 years ago. I just don't love it. Like, I don't love the performance of these as much as I love these, which may be because these are more like neutral, natural shades, but this palette I absolutely adore, especially these 3 shades, but particularly this shade just blows me away, this one that's kind of cracked. It's really pretty. I'll try and insert the name on the screen now, but it's a beautiful shimmer that I've been wearing actually quite a bit recently. Then we have the e.l.f. Bite Size palette in the shade Rosewater. This palette is amazing. I talked about it in a recent favorites video, but I don't know, there's something about it. I love the shimmers, I love the mattes. I think it performs really, really well, like a higher end palette, and it's only $3 to $6 depending on where you get it. And they have a bunch of different colorways, so if you can find one that like suits your fancy that you think you'll get use out of, I really cannot recommend this enough. Here we have another e.l.f. palette. It's kind of like a dupe for the Naked 3 palette. I recently picked this up. I'm not sure if it's new or not. I believe it's called like the Rose Gold Nude palette. Here's what the inside looks like. If I can get it open. Here's what it looks like. Honestly, the quality performs very similar to the e.l.f. Bite Size palette that I just showed you, and I can get very, very similar looks, so you definitely do not need both. If you want a few more shades, go with this one. If you're okay with the other ones, then just go with the more affordable palette that's only like half the price or less. So here I have an Urban Decay palette that I custom made a few years, not even a few years back, it was like probably 5 years back, but I have since switched out some of these shades in here. So I believe you can still get all of the single shades in here, but I just kind of got a container, I don't know, I think it was a gift where I was able to like put these in there, so it kind of gave me an excuse to like get eyeshadows. But the 2 shades up here, I'll insert the names on the screen now, they're beautiful. This shade right here is Scratch, and I really enjoyed that one as well. It's just, I mean, the Urban Decay single shadows are really good. They're really expensive for what you're getting, but I do really like the way they perform. Here I have the Maybelline The Blush Nudes palette. Honestly, I mean, I believe this is also supposed to be a dupe for the Naked 3 palette, but I just don't, like, I don't get along with this at all. I really need to pass it along because I've used it maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't know, I just do not think the quality's there. I don't think that the shades look very pretty on the eyes. I don't know, I just was not a fan of this. Next I have a Maybelline palette that I do decently enjoy. This is the Lemonade Craze palette. I really like the mattes and the shimmers in here. I think they perform really well. They're pretty easy to work with and they last a long while. One downfall is they're pretty powdery and they have a lot of like kick up when you pick it up on your brush, and therefore there is some fallout when you put them on the eyes. But if you don't mind that, you know, I think the shades, and if you like warm tones, that's another caveat. If you don't, you're not going to like this. It's very warm tone based, but the shades are very pretty. It's not like my #1 palette. It's not even my #1 palette from the drugstore, but it's still pretty good, and it's worth saying, okay, it's a good palette. So this is the Be the Game Changer palette from Makeup Obsession. I don't know. I've used it a couple times now, even though I've had it in my collection for almost a year. It's just not that good. I don't know how the other Makeup Obsession palettes perform, but this one did not. the colors don't really perform the way on the eyes that they look in the palette. They all come out very, very, very warm tone. Kind of the brownish shades turn out kind of gray. It's decent, but like this one I believe is the same price, if not maybe a little less than the Maybelline palette I just showed, and I would recommend that one way more than I would recommend this one. So that wraps up my eyeshadow collection video. I would love to hear what palettes you want to see in future videos in the comments down below. I'd love to hear some of your favorite palettes, what you think about the ones that I showed. Really anything you want to talk about, just leave a comment down below. I have plenty of time to get back to you guys and respond. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great couple of days until the next video goes live. I will see you when it does. Bye!